All right, what we're working with today is describing angle pairs. And so first of all, let's just kind of review some of our vocabulary. Adjacent means next to each other. So this is when angles are adjacent, they're next to each other. And what happens with adjacent angles is they share a common vertex, and then they also have a common leg. So in order for it to be adjacent, they have to share a vertex and share a leg. A linear pair is adjacent angles that form a line. And you have to remember that the measures of lines add up to 180. So if I put a little 30 here, then together those make 180. So the one on the left is 150. Vertical angles are non-adjacent angles from intersecting lines. So here's my lines, and I have angles 1, 2, 3, and 4. The angles that are vertical, 1 is vertical to 3, and 4 is vertical to 2. And so vertical angles are angles that are opposite each other. One thing that's important about vertical angles is that they're equal. So if 75 is on the top, then 75 is on the bottom. If 50 is on the right, then 50 is on the left. They're equal. Now, one thing that you could have with problems like this is that you should recognize that here, these two angles make a straight line. And so when they make a straight line, they add up to 180. So if I do 180 minus 75, I get 105. And if the right is 105, then that means the left is 105. Same thing here. These angles make a straight line. And you'll notice I always do this half circle because it just helps me remember and see that it's a straight line. And so 180 minus 50 is 130. So if the top is 130, then the bottom's 130. All right, complementary angles. These are angles that equal 90, and it has to be two angles. And this one is two angles that equal 180. A lot of people get confused on how to remember which is 90, which is 180. The best way I remember is that C comes before S in the alphabet. So C is 90 and S is 180. So that might help you realize what to do. All right, so let's look at these pictures. Now I'm going to do some highlighting on here because I can delete it. If you're doing a problem like this, I would not highlight on your paper because then by the time you get to number 5, it's going to be confusing. So I have B, F, C, which is this angle here. And it's asking me for an angle that's complement. Well, you have to remember that complementary angles are 90. So I have to figure out which other angles make that box. And it's this angle here. And that angle name is DFC. Okay, so I'm going to erase that. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the next one. A to F to B, that's this angle here. And it's asking me for a vertical angle. Well, remember we talked about vertical angles. Vertical angles are the top and the bottom, or the left and the right. So what happens is they're kind of diagonal from each other. So this angle is diagonal from this one here. And that big one, if I color it in, is all this, which is D to F to E. So D, F, E. All right, then the next one, it says B, F, C. Again, this one here is adjacent. Well, adjacent means next to it. And I actually have a couple that are next to it. I have this one that's next to it, which is right here, which is CFD. I also have this one on the left that's next to it. Right here, this one's next to it. That's angle BFA. And then I also have big angles. Like I could even say that my angle goes this whole thing, that whole thing, that obtuse angle. That obtuse angle is CFE. So there's a lot of different options that work. Adjacent, they just all have to have an F, and they either have to touch the B or they have to touch the C. So there's a lot of options for adjacent. Okay, the next one is supplementary. So let's look at what angle we're talking about. We're talking about AFE. So this angle here. And supplementary, remember, is two angles that equal 180. Now here's the thing. Supplementary does not have to be connected. So it just has to be a 90-degree angle. This is a 90-degree angle. And that is angle AFB. I also have a right angle on the other side, right here, EFD. And there's one other one. It's this one over here that's kind of vertical with it because that's a right angle. And 90 plus 90 gives me 180, so that one will work also. So angle BEF. Oops. Let's make that look like an F. Oops. Ah! Oops, I messed up. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let's find it. Or angle BFD. There we go. So all those options works. Okay, so now let's look at this last one. And it says an angle FCD, F to C to D. Oops, look at that. This is a typo. It's supposed to say CFD. I accidentally mixed my vertex with the other point. This angle is 25. And the question's asking for you to find A to F to C. Well, hopefully you recognize that these two angles here, they're a linear pair. They make a straight line, so they add up to 180. So 180 minus 25 is 155. So angle AFC equals 155. All right, let's look at number 6 and 7. First of all, complement, you have to know what that word means, and remember that's angles that add up to 90. So 63 plus something is 90, so you just subtract. So the angle is 27. Over here, supplements, they add up to 180, so I could just do 180 minus 103, which is 77. Oh, that's ugly. All right, for number 8, it says 1 and 2 form a linear pair. Remember, a linear pair is a line, so I draw two angles that make a line, and I label one of them 1 and one of them 2. It really doesn't matter which one. The picture's not drawn to scale. It's just to help us see things. And now it says that angle 1 is 96 degrees. Well, I know that these two things make 180, so if I subtract 96, I find out that my other angle is 84. For number 9, it says vertical angles. And again, vertical is top and bottom, left and right. So I'm going to say the top and bottom. And now it says angle 2 is 75. Well, if the bottom's 75, then the top is 75. So that's the answer there. All right, last two. Let's look at 10 and 11. Well, when you look at 10, hopefully you recognize 112 is vertical with y. So y is 112. And then the other thing that you should see is that these angles make this straight line. And so I could do 180 minus 112, and I get 68. So if the z is 68, x is also 68 because they're vertical. All right, last one, number 11. These aren't vertical, so they're not equal, but hopefully you recognize this line. And remember, a line equals 180. So it'll be 119 plus 2x plus 7 equals 180. So I combine my like terms, and I get 2x plus 126 equals 180. Subtract 126 on both sides, and you get 2x is 54. Oops. And then we divide by 2. So we find that x is 27. And again, that's because it made a line. So overall in this lesson, it's really vocabulary that means the most. You have to understand that a linear pair makes a line, and vertical angles are equal, and it's the top, bottom, left, and right. So it can be difficult to learn the different angle pairs, but practicing them and understanding them on pictures like this can make a huge difference.